Hello. Today I'm going to set up an automation that begins with instantly, pulls all the replies that are received in instantly, well, nearly all, into n8n, where Claude is going to classify those replies and send them over to a Google Sheet. The reason I'm doing this is a practical reason. One of my clients is struggling to keep up with the replies and get back to them, and I think a Google Sheet will just be more practical for them. They'll be able to digest it better. They'll be able to just keep track of things better. So this is what I'm going to set up. So we start off over in n8n. We're going to create a workflow, and we are going to use a webhook. All right, and this is very important. It has to be post. Okay, so that's the method that instantly works with. Okay, and then I'm going to get the production URL. I'm not going to use the tests. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go over to instantly. I'm going to go to the settings down here. Settings, integrations, webhooks, and add a webhook. I'll pop it in there, and I'm going to add it for all the campaigns. All right, I'm going to watch it for everything. As you've seen, you can pick some specific campaigns, but I'm going to just have it kind of triage and process all of them. I'm going to add the webhook. Yeah, silly me. Reply received is what I care about. Some of the other ones you can see there. None of the other ones really matter. So that has been added. And if I go back here. Okay, so that's added there. I like to publish at each step. I don't know. I'm just afraid it'll suddenly lose all my progress. All right. Now, I want to test that webhook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to set up a test campaign that only has myself as a recipient so that I can reply to a cold email from the client and then just set up the webhook to process. So I'll just pause the screen while I do that. Some test data coming in. I set up an example campaign here, test campaign, and replied to two of them positively. So if we go back to n8n, we'll see that they've both come in. And what we can do is I'll pick the second one. Let's load, and I'm going to copy it into the editor. Then I can double click on it. Yeah, I have some data here. Shows it's working just fine. All right, so the next step is to build in an analysis of what's coming in by Claude. All right, so we go close that. Add a new node. Tropic. Is it this one? Not this one. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to message a model. All right. So what to do here again? We're going to message a model. The prompt, that's going to be user prompt. And yeah, so the model I'm going to use is just the Sonnet, which should be, let me see, I think it's Sonnet. No, actually, Haiku will be better. It's just a simple task list classification, and that will be more than powerful enough to do it. Yeah. So next, we're going to add in the prompt here, the user prompt. So I had a long chat with Claude to establish what's the best prompt for this, and I'm going to just simply copy it from here. I'm also going to do the same for the down here. I'm going to add an option. So I'm going to add a system message. All right. And this little small field is going to take a big prompt. So let me just get that prompt, which is the one here, which I was working on earlier. Okay, and I'm going to pop that in here. Okay, and in addition, I'm going to add some options. I'm going to add the maximum number of tokens because I think the default is a bit too high. 300 would be more than enough. That's what I tested it on and it was just fine. That's what Claude recommended actually, and Claude should know. And the other thing was the temperature. So temperature, Claude again advised me to set the temperature as 0.1 because this is just a classification task. It's not coming up with creative solutions, or say for example you were going to write a different cold email or a different line for every single pitch that you're sending. You'd want to be a little bit creative there. We don't need to be creative here, so we can just keep it tight at 0.1. We also have to have that user prompt, which is user prompts. Yeah, I don't believe in saying please and thank you to Claude. I think it just wastes stuff. So that's that. Message model. And I think this one, because we have lots of data there already, the execute step will actually work here. Unlike the previous one where we had to actually feed it in stuff. All right. Category interested. And what was it that I put in? Oh yeah, I was interested. The two I've done. Explicitly states interest and proposes a specific meeting time. Very good. So that step is now done. Okay, next step is to introduce a code node. Move over a little bit. And we're going to use JavaScript. Get rid of that. Then we're going to go back to Claude, good old Claude, and we're going to get this piece of JavaScript. And we'll pop this in here. And again, we can execute it. So what this does is it parses the long string into something useful to pass on to Google Sheets. Again, this should execute because we've got all the raw materials. Yeah, so it's neatly put it in these headings, which you'll see in a moment, match up with what I've prepared in Google Sheets. Now, the next step is just to send it over to the Google Sheet. So, you saw that the different types of kind of heading that I have parsed it into. So that has those labels because that matches up perfectly with the Google Sheet. I made this before I made the other one. Okay, so it should slot neatly into these boxes. And if we hook up the Google Sheet, which we can do here, and row in a sheet, and I'm going to find from the list the file, n8n makes it quite easy. It pulls in all the sheet names in the spreadsheet, and I'm going to map each column manually. Notes is just for the client to put in their notes, and the rest of them are going to map neatly. Okay, they're all neatly wrapped. They're all neatly mapped. And I'm going to execute the step because we have all the data to kind of crunch. Execute. Okay, so that might have actually arrived. Bye-bye. All right. So this is how I've set it up. I usually reduce the size of the text here because, I mean, it sometimes can be sprawling, and if the person wants to read it, they can make it increase the size of the font and just read it. Otherwise, it's going to take over and it's going to be messy. So that's very neat and tidy. Let me reply with a non-interested response and see if that all ships in correctly. But before I do that, I should hit publish. All right, I've replied. I've said I'm not interested. Let's see when it comes in. Here it comes. All right, so let's see if it arrives. Yeah, not interested. All right, and one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some conditional formatting here just to make it easier for the client reviewing it. So I'm going to go to format, conditional formatting. If that row, actually the whole thing, yep, contains text is exactly interested. Make it green so I can't miss it. All right, looking good. Now, the last thing to do is add some error handling. All right, so let's go back to the editor. What I've actually got to do here to make this literally happen is I've got to break the connection to Anthropic so that it makes an error happen. But before I do that, I need to go in here, go to settings, and on our not stop, continue using error output. And that's what I need to do. Okay, and I'll publish that as well. Okay, now let me just go and break the Anthropic API key and also send a reply to make it all run again. Actually, I'll show you what I do for that. So let me go to let me go here, and what I'll just do is add blah, 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 to the end and hit save. And it doesn't pass the test, but ignore that because I want that to happen. And I'm gonna send through a reply. Okay, this one should break the beast. Did it break? Success. Not totally sure what is the issue there, but I'll push on. And I want to add a piece of code here, piece of JavaScript that Claude has very kindly prepared for me. And we can execute, I think. Does it have bad stuff? I think it does. Yeah, so I think it worked. All right, that's like that. And then we want to send those to an error sheet. So again, so I've had this running for quite a while, haven't encountered any errors, but still it's good practice. So I'm going to append row to a sheet. Same thing again, I'm going to find that document. Let me just pause. I don't want you to see all my documents. Okay. And email replies failures. Again, we have to map. Again, notes there for Duncan, not the client, because it would be me that would be sorting out the issues here, right? Timestamp goes here. Looks good. Let's execute and see if this bad boy arrives over here. Ooh, beautiful. I won't pretend to know what that raw payload means, but I could dig in if needed with Claude's help and figure out any problems. Yeah, so that's working just fine. Good. So we use Webhook to pull in from instantly, then into Claude for some very low cost chopping up analysis and categorizing into three different categories: interested, non-interested, and automatic replies. I didn't make an automated reply come in, but lots of them will come in. Well, they will and they won't, because instantly actually filters them out right at the source. And when I chose that for the webhook to only send over replies, instantly doesn't count an automated reply as a reply, so it won't actually send you one. But if one sneaks through, then Claude will more than be able to handle it. But probably your file is just going to be full of interested or not interested. Hopefully more interested for you. Bit of JavaScript to parse it up, and then on it goes to the sheet. And yeah, simple as that.